You're listening to the Good Dirt Podcast, where we dig into the nitty-gritty of sustainable living through food, clothing, and lifestyle. The Good Dirt is brought to you by Lady Farmer, a sustainable apparel and lifestyle company founded in 2016 by mother-daughter duo Mary and Emma Kingsley. I'm Emma, and I'm here with my mom, Mary.
Hey! So we wanted our very first episode to be a place where everyone could come to get an idea of who we are and what we do, and hopefully some insight into why and how as well.
So to start things off, we're going to talk a little bit about kind of how we started, our story, and explain what is a lady farmer and what does it have to do with good dirt, and then we're going to answer some questions from you guys. So to start about what a lady farmer is, we want to just clarify that it doesn't mean you have to be a woman in the business of farming to be what we call a lady farmer, capital L, capital F.
Yeah, we think being a lady farmer is something that comes from a place in your heart. It's more of a longing for something that's more grounded and connected to who we really are than what our modern way of life demands of us. Emma and I came up with this name for our brand after we were talking about a project we were excited about working on together. We were both concerned with the issues of the fashion industry, and neither of us could find clothes that we felt good about buying.
So I guess that's when we both sort of thought, hey, what if we designed a line of clothing that we felt good about buying and fit this kind of back-to-earth lifestyle? Not once thinking about the fact that neither of us knew anything about how to do any of that. We knew that we had this kind of yearning for the farm and that other people had a similar yearning to get back to nature, and we thought there's kind of something here, the parallel with the food and the clothes. So, but yeah, we had no idea what we were doing.
Yeah, like the minor details of how to design clothes, how to start a small business. It's probably a good thing looking back, though.
Yeah, I don't think if we had known everything, I think that's like most things, probably wouldn't have done it.
Probably wouldn't be sitting here right now.
Yeah, so anyways, our inspiration that keeps us going, obviously at the time, was women farmers. There had been, and there still is, a surge in the number of female farmers in the industry. And, you know, the idea of a powerful woman working the land, providing for her community, and giving back to the earth, that whole thing was just really exciting to us, and we wanted to share about it.
We also happen to be based in a really unique rural community just outside of the nation's capital called the Montgomery County Agricultural Reserve. And our home is only about 24 miles west of the White House. And this is where some of our closest friends and colleagues actually are lady farmers. They really were and are still our inspiration.
So yeah, maybe before we get too far into that, do you want to talk about how we ended up here?
Yeah, okay. It's a fun story. It was a huge lifestyle shift when we moved from Washington, D.C., where we had been since 2007, to this little farm in 2012.
Yeah, so I think it's important to point out that we didn't always live on a farm. We didn't even always live in the city. I grew up at the end of a cul-de-sac in the suburbs of Atlanta. I spent a lot of time in the car, you know, going back and forth from ballet class. I ate a fair amount of Taco Bell, to be quite honest.
Yeah, don't remind me.
Yeah, so all that to say, I didn't grow up on a farm. And yeah.
And all of that is also to say that as a family, we've sort of experienced a range of living situations, small town, suburb, city, country, which we think gives us some perspective when it comes to sustainable living. When we started Lady Farmer, it was really as a passion project through which we wanted to be sharing everything we were learning from living out on the farm. But not everyone lives on a farm, obviously, and things we'd learned from raising a family through the 90s and the early 2000s, which was a time when our consumer economy was really rapidly changing. So these things apply wherever you live.
Yeah, and just to kind of bring it back, that's why we decided to make this podcast and why we're here, why we continue to persist with Lady Farmer and our little brand. It's just because we're so passionate about sharing all of this information and telling our own story in hopes that it might reach someone who needs to hear it or doesn't know anything about good dirt, because everyone needs to hear about good dirt. That's just something that no one's really talking about enough.
So you should explain what you mean by good dirt.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, obviously an underlying theme of Lady Farmer is agriculture. We often talk about the overlap between food and clothing, and like how our mission is based on the idea that clothing is an agricultural product, just like your food. So, if you care about where your food comes from and the chemicals used to grow it, it's kind of a similar thing with your clothes. And clothes even go through a much more complicated process from seed to sewn. So there's that many more factors to kind of take into account. But anyways, all that being said, the roots of all of these things are in the soil, literally. And everything kind of starts in the soil.
Yeah, and we hear so much about gut health these days, about restoring the good bacteria in our bodies. And it's the same with the soil. Human health and soil health are so interdependent and interconnected.
And this is where we really start to nerd out and get really excited. And we love having conversations about soil and interconnectedness. It really just keeps us going. I guess our kind of thesis is that it really all does come back to the soil. And in order to get there, to get to that place of understanding, we really have to slow way down in the way that we consume our food, of course, clothing, information, products, advertising, entertainment. And we just have to slow all that down and get in touch with the very building blocks of who we are as humans, particularly in our communities and how we relate to each other and the earth.
So, if you can't tell so far, we have the bug, so to speak, and we are on a mission. We want to tell everyone we can all about the good dirt. We want to provide spaces on the internet and in real life for conversations, hopeful conversations, helpful alternatives, and places where we can discuss the hard questions.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so speaking of hard questions, we should probably move on to our questions.
Good segue.
So we hopefully we've given a bit of insight into our backstory, but we did want to answer some questions from the audience. So we put out a little call out on Instagram, and people responded with great questions that we wouldn't have even thought of. So we're just gonna dig right in.
Yeah, okay. You want me to go first? Want me to ask and you answer?
Yeah, and then you answer and then we'll switch.
Okay, great. Emma, what's it like working with your mom?
Oh gosh. Okay. So this is awkward. Just kidding. No, we get this question a lot. And it's either like someone's like, "Hey, what's it like working with your mom?" Or it's like not even a question. It's just like, "I can't believe you work with your mom. I could never do that." And so it's either one of those. And honestly, of course, we have a good relationship. We have to. We are friends. But it's definitely not easy. It's really hard, actually. It's very challenging. And I think the key is to kind of making it work is that we are super open and communicative with each other. And we've gotten much better at boundaries over the years. So at the beginning of Lady Farmer, when we first started, I was actually living at the farm at home with my parents, which was great. And that worked really well for a while. But when we started to have enough work to kind of consume every minute of every day, it just got to be too much because we would bring that stuff into, obviously, our home and our mother-daughter relationship. So I remember we even put up like office hours like at home. We couldn't talk about Lady Farmer before 9 a.m. or after 5 p.m. And for the most part, we still kind of stick to that. For instance, we can only text each other through our project management app about work stuff. And then if we want to like text each other about life stuff, we can use regular iMessage. So little things like that have really helped. But I will say, it's not super easy, but what is that is really good and challenging and fulfilling, So it's a ride. I'm so glad to be doing it. I would say like it's brought us closer, and I guess probably it undoubtedly has, but I think really it's just made us both like better communicators and better problem solvers. Wow, sorry, that was long. What about you, Mom? What's it like working with your daughter?
Well, yeah, as you mentioned about the boundaries, I think that's been the biggest challenge for me, because like there's really three relationships here. That there's my daughter, there's a business partner, and then at least in the beginning there was like a housemate. So in the beginning we were just sort of flailing around with it, and she's right, all those things got sort of blurred together, and like first thing she comes for coffee in the morning and I'm like blasting her with questions about what's going to happen today. And obviously that was not sustainable, speaking of sustainability. So it's great. I mean, like as a person, like an adult that's, I've been in a marriage for almost going on 40 years now. And they're still learning. They're still learning about boundaries. They're still learning about sharing spaces with people. And then in the business part of it, which was totally new, like starting a small business with somebody, much less my daughter. So that's all to say, it's been challenging. We've learned things. We've had to create rules around it, but overall it's been really exciting and fun. And I feel like I've really come a long way in my just really growing as a person through this. So it's really been great. And as Emma's a great business partner. She really knows how to get things done. And she's also a wonderful daughter, but I've known that for 29 years now.
Mom.
I just told your age.
And also kind of just to clarify, so I did used to live at the farm, and then now I live in Washington, D.C. in the city. So I'm kind of that like city part of Lady Farmer. And just to kind of clarify.
Yeah, again, that gives us a perspective on how to deal with these things in different living situations.
Okay, so I'm going to do the next question.
Yeah.
Okay. What sustainability topics do you individually feel most passion for?
Well, so it's hard to say like which one I feel the most passion for. There's so many. Feel very passionate about real food, eating local, real clothes, natural fibers, about knowing where our things come from, and trying to avoid using plastic whenever possible.
That's a good one.
And this is a process. These things don't happen overnight. I find that the more I live into these ideas and goals, the more grounded and purposeful I feel. It's really good. It's a good life practice to work towards these things. And it inspires me to do more and teach more and just to keep refining my life in all of these ways.
So would you say the sustainability topic is like daily life and like daily product use? Like
yes,
okay.
I would say that. That's been the big slow shifting for me and in our house and our family. Yes.
And I think when you put it like that, it kind of makes me think that's like what Lady Farmer is, which is cool.
Well, yeah. So So what about you? What about your passion for sustainability topic?
So I think I can get really, it's easy to get upset and fired up about a lot of things. But for me, it's the clothing probably. There's just such a stark difference between a garment that has been sewn with care, whether hand sewn or machine sewn, but just, with a person that was treated well or happy. Kind of like the way when you eat a home cooked meal, it's so different from eating fast food. It's so similar to that. You can taste the care. You can feel the care on your body. So I would say really sustainable fashion is something that I'm super passionate about, as well as, oh my gosh, regenerative agriculture and holistic livestock management. I think that, conventional industrial meat is so horrible. And I think the natural reaction is to go, no meat, all meat is bad. But there's really a middle ground where there's really good meat. And it's the way that we raise that meat is really good for the soil. So I just think it's so important to look at all sides of everything. So I would say sustainable fashion and regenerative agriculture are my big ones.
Okay, here's another one. How and why did you start Lady Farmer? And when did you start doing it full time?
So what's funny about this question is I don't do it full time. Well, I guess I do it more than full time, but I have to maintain some side jobs here and there. I definitely have a tendency to add on too many side jobs and then I don't have any time. So I really have to check in and, take my own medicine of slowing down and doing what's manageable. But yeah, Lady Farmer is definitely more than full time just because, we both are so passionate about it and there's so many different projects. But I do have to look outside for income because we're just, we're only in our third year of business and it takes a while for some things to get going. So as far as how and why did we start it? How did we start it? I don't know. I think it took being in a place, I didn't have a job lined up, so I was maybe a little bit bored and just really excited about this. If I get excited about something, I'm going to put 300% of everything that I have into it. And we just sort of hit the ground running and didn't really look back. So, yeah. What about you?
Well, to answer the question, how did we start Lady Farmers? We were both really concerned about the problems in the fashion industry, and like we said earlier, we just said, hey, let's do this. And next thing I knew, we were going. It just sort of took off. So when did I start doing it full time? Well, I feel like Lady Farmer is the way I live. So I sort of feel like I am the business and the business is me, or whatever. Not
for better or for worse.
Yeah. Not that I'm working around the clock, but I'm being me around the clock. And the wonderful, exciting thing about this to me is I get a channel or a outlet for things I love to do and talk about and research and learn. And it's just really, really fun to have a way to express all of this and to pull it together and disseminate the information. I have had to learn some things like, the digital part of it, the communicating remotely with people that are helping us, and doing business sort of like from a variety of locations. And meeting the demands of social media and the website and all this. Yeah. That's taken up a good bit of time. Yeah. So it's, for me personally, Lady Farmer and my life and myself are all sort of glommed together. So yeah, I'm me 24/7, and I do stuff I need to do to keep it going.
I think that's a really good segue into the next question, which is about hurdles and challenges. So what have been some of the biggest hurdles along the way, Mom? Speaking of social media and working remotely. I can think of a big one.
Yeah. Well, I would say just about everything we've taken on, because as we said earlier, no matter that we didn't know anything about clothing design or starting a small business, we just, let's do that. Yeah. And we've learned a lot of things from scratch. And on top of that, concerning the digital marketing, the social media, the website, all of that, we have been very challenged out here by the fact that our internet at the farm is very poor.
We're just outside the perimeter or whatever, the bounds of getting high-speed internet.
Yes, we have some neighbors that have it, but we're just like a half mile away from where we need to be to get really good service. And it is a struggle, let me tell you.
And it is like irony of all ironies, because normally, if we didn't have to run the business, it would be such a blessing almost.
Yeah, like, oh, we don't have internet, I can't be hanging out all day, But sometimes it's really frustrating. And gosh, talk about slow living and slowing down, man. Yeah.
Slow connections.
It's a big lesson.
This podcast in particular, it's been a real challenge to get it off the ground without reliable internet, because all of our interviews that have been remote, we have to have a really good internet connection to have them. So
yeah, I think the internet is definitely a big one, and the learning curve of all sorts of things like the clothing production. Yeah, that was a big one. The Kickstarter. The retreat. Wow. Yeah, learning how to put on a big event. And then we've written a book that's about to be launched, and that whole thing, getting that published, and now this podcast. So we've had all of these things that we've just had to...
Yeah, it's like we pretty much didn't know how to do anything that we've done.
Yeah.
Before we started.
What is that about us? Like,
I don't know.
Well, that doesn't matter. So anyway, what do you have to say about obstacles? Maybe you have something more to add.
Challenges. Yeah. In the beginning. Oh, I know what I was going to say. In the beginning, we talked about this. We thought, we're going to design clothes for our lady farmer friends. And they're going to be clothes that they can work outside in and feel cute in and go to town in. And what we kind of realized was that farmers, like farmers, aren't gonna spend $200 on a tunic because their work, it's just like there was a disconnect there. And we were a little bit like, what's the word? Not innocent. Naive. Yes. We were a little bit naive about that. And for a minute, it was like, well, are we trying to be Carhartt? But just for women? Because actually at this point, Carhartt now has women overalls, but at that point only 4 years ago, they only had the male cut. So Carhartt overalls were kind of uncomfortable for women. Just because they didn't get any bigger in the hips. And this is a thing, workwear for women, since then has started to pick up a little bit. But at the time it was are we doing workwear? Are we doing tunics with pockets? Who is this for? And so I think that was probably the biggest challenge was who's this for? What are we doing this for? So that's kind of why we really had to think about our mission and our inspiration being, we're inspired by lady farmers, but we aren't making that workwear, partially because that workwear is already being made. And the other part of it is because I think our mission is more to educate. We've kind of learned this along the way, and farmers are already educated, so they don't need us, to tell them about soil and to tell them about, healthy farming, or at least the ones that we know. So I would say shifting our focus almost and on our product and what that is and who's interested and why. And, we know we're onto something, but it's really figuring out what that is and why. And that's a business question, I guess, that it really took us a while to like really get there. That was probably the biggest one, I would say, like figuring out who we are.
Yeah, and what you said about educating, I think one of the big pieces that we're starting to address is people need to learn a lot about the way things work and where they come from to understand that true sustainability just costs more. And that's a real challenge when you're trying to run a business about sustainability. So as Emma said, we sort of moved into this mode of education. This is what this really looks like. This is why your $25 pair of jeans do not cost $25 to most of the people that had something to do with it. You're paying $25 for the jeans because the system is broken, not because they're a good deal. So, and this is really, really interesting stuff. And I find it really fascinating to go down those rabbit holes and uncover all this stuff for people.
So it's a lot. It's really a lot. As anyone who is already, a part of our Lady Farmer community in our audience, I think you know that we do a lot and we put out a lot of content. We have this big retreat every year. We're doing this podcast right now. It's just a lot. We're so excited about so many things and we have a lot of energy. But we also have like limited bandwidth. And as I said, I have other jobs. I have side jobs I do, and other passions even. So I think the biggest challenge, I keep saying the biggest challenge, but a really big one also.
Another big one.
Another big one was kind of coming to this realization that we were burning out, or, there are times when we start to burn out. And last year at some point we were like, okay, we really need help. And it's so easy to put that off because, it's hard. As I said, it's just not quite sustainable yet as a business, full transparency. And so we're really kind of digging at everything we have and we need help. And that was a hard thing to come to. But when we did and we put out a call and we got the right help that we needed, we're able to offload just some of the crazy, from graphics to analytics to getting the emails out, like all of these things just take so much. And now we have help. We have a small amount of help. We're a small team now. But most people actually, before we hired we have 2 people that help us. But before that, people were shocked when it was just you and me.
Yes, and now looking back on it, I can't believe that all the things we were trying to do, just you and me.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
We had interns this summer and the summer before, and both of them, like one of the first things they said, they were like, wait a minute. Like when they came over, like, where's everyone? What? It's just,
where's
you
everything?
guys? And we're like, yeah, what? Yeah, and I just say that all because I know that like it looks so easy. I know because I look at other brands and other companies and I'm like, wow, must be nice. But I'm sure people, that like our Instagram page do that too. But all that to say, of course, it's not all just like sunlit sunflowers and coffee in the morning.
Yeah, no, it's like everything else. We want to reach a balance, and we want to help you reach a balance, and we don't want you to look at us and say, "Oh, they have such an easy, beautiful, slow living life." And no, it's just like everybody else.
Yeah, we actually have to hold ourselves accountable.
Yeah, right. Probably, one of the really great things about this business. I have to remind myself every day that I'm telling people such and such, and
it is.
Yeah, I need to do it.
I'm the ultimate needs the living.
And I don't know. That's why it's been so transformative in my own life. It's really awesome.
Yeah.
I like what you said a while ago about take some of your own medicine. I thought that was a good phrase. So we have, I have to take my own medicine all the time. Like things I want to dose out, I got to take it.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on to... Wait, did I ask that last question or did you ask that?
Well, we both kind of
Okay.
did it. So, but
Here, I'll ask you since you live on the farm more.
yes, okay.
Mom, people want to know all about the animals that live on the farm and what do you do here?
Oh, I love this question. Yeah, we have, our farm is small. It's just 7 acres. And we don't like grow crops to sell or anything. We don't do that. But we do, it's like a little homestead. We have chickens and we get our own eggs in the warm months. And when we only have 5 hens now. So in the colder months when they stop laying, we don't use a light or anything. There's plenty of eggs around here from the other farmers. So we always have farm fresh eggs. We have 5 sheep. They're delightful. We do shear them twice a year for wool, and we have sold some of their wool before. I would like to ratchet that operation up a little bit. We also have 4 ponies, 4 Shetland ponies, and they are retired therapy ponies, and they needed a home a few years back, and so we brought them out here, and they're really sweet, and they're wonderful. They're mainly pets, but they do contribute a lot of fertilizer to the property, and I have a big garden. I grow lots of herbs and flowers and food, and in some years I've grown more food than other years. This past year we belonged to a CSA. I have bees. We have bees, which is awesome. And
we are not beekeepers. We do share we have someone in the neighborhood who does beekeeping and has a honey business, and so we kind of lease or whatever, he can come do the beehives on your land, and then we get a small share of the honey.
Yeah,
that's how it works. Although I'd love to get into beekeeping. I also for a minute really was really into doing meat rabbits. I just think that that's so interesting. I have all the books, but then I'm not living here anymore, so, and I don't think my parents want another chore to be on top of. But when I do have my own land again, that's definitely something that I'm interested in.
Trying to get a food forest going that's mostly perennials and food producing plants. It's a big experiment. It's a big playground. I grow a lot of flowers and pollinator plants for the bees, and not just our bees, but the whole bees in the area. And yeah, so I love my garden, and we have 2 dogs and a cat. So it's just right. We feel like we're right there at a sustainable place in terms of chores and all of that. But we do have plans and dreams for things we'd like to move into as my husband gets closer to retirement. Anyway.
Speaking of, that's a great segue, Mom.
Yeah.
I'm just going to ask you this one again because you already started to talk about it. What are you most excited about in the future of Lady Farmer? What does the ideal Lady Farmer in the future look like?
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, one thing is that I would love to see us being involved with local fiber production. That's very exciting to me. Hemp or flax or something that can actually become textiles and become clothes. That is a dream. Even
wool and
alpaca.
There's a lot more sheep and stuff in this area, but we need to kind of close that gap between producer, consumer, processing, all that.
Right, and we've recently formed our Chesapeake Fiber Shed, which is an affiliate of Fiber Shed, the nonprofit that's based in Northern California. You'll hear more about that in episode 1.
More about that soon.
So we'll be talking about our Chesapeake Fiber Shed more to come. So yes, would love Lady Farmer to see Lady Farmer more into textile production. Yeah, what about you, Emma?
This is kind of weird and maybe opposite of what you might be thinking, but I see a bright, sunny, bustling office. It's not an office, like a corporate office, but it's a big sunny room. Yeah, something, big, sliding barn doors. I just see a lot of women together working really creatively, writing, producing really awesome I'm just, that's kind of like more my speed. I love writing. I love the video production. I love styling and photography. And I just think that this platform and the possibility here for education and real community is just so big. And I really want to live into that. So I see Lady Farmer, in a big, sunny, bustling office with lots of people producing amazing content for her. And she's not maybe at this farm. This has been really cool because it's a super authentic kind of window into our life and really your life as the Lady Farmer. But I think that Lady Farmer needs its own little space, its own homestead. It'd be so cool if there were like retreats there, like on site, teaching garden, teaching farm. Yeah, that's what it looks like for me.
That speaks a lot to our discussions about spaces. And we also have an episode on spaces coming up.
Yeah.
So, all these things are part of it, part of the discussion, part of the vision, part of the dreaming.
I also think that Lady Farmer would make a really great TV show. So if anyone's out there and just needs an idea for a really good TV show, hit me up. thegooddirtpodcast@gmail.com. Just kidding. Okay. This kind of leads into the next question. Do you want to ask it, Mom?
Where do you want to be in 5 to 10 years?
So I'm guessing that this is more personal because we just kind of chatted about the Lady Farmer. Yeah. So 5 to 10 years, again, kind of like the last question I answered, I do love the farm and I love being on a farm. And I know he just said I do want to have meat rabbits. But I also really, like, in my soul, I am more of a city person. I do just really thrive off of that energy and the buzz. I mean, that's, maybe it's a life phase kind of thing. Maybe I will long for the land when I get older too. But I think in 5 to 10 years, I'll still be in my like city buzz, which I do live there currently. I live in a really small sort of condo apartment and we have no outdoor space. So I think I would like in 5 or 10 years to have more of at least, a little patio or somewhere to go be outside. I love being outside at twilight. I love that sunset, and it makes me really sad when I have to go inside. And I want to be working on a big, bustling, beautiful, smart Lady Farmer team and have just like all of the support and all of the beautiful people helping us get the message out about the good dirt. What about you, Mom?
That sounds awesome, what you said. So anyway, in my personal life, I would like to have a well-established food forest right outside my back door. That means mostly like perennial food-producing plants, as I said a little bit ago. And I would like to establish an area set aside as a natural meadow where you can have all the native grasses and the bugs and the birds and the bees and all those things can come and be sustained and nourished. I just love that vision. And I'd love to have all the renovations on the farm property completed. As you can imagine, in a farmhouse that was built in 1820, how much there is to do, and we're slowly working on things. And I would love to have a really completely decluttered and comfortable, warm in the winter, cool in the summer living environment.
Oh, wait. Yeah. Go back to challenges. We didn't mention that. Yeah. Our sweet little 1820s farmhouse, y'all, it also means it's not insulated.
We did just put insulation in this fall, so things are better. Things are looking up.
But there's literally like parts in the floor where you can see down into like the basement because the mud that was used like in between the floorboards 200 years ago, has like fallen. Anyways.
Yeah, true.
All that to say, there is a story behind all the like charming old things that you see on Instagram.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
Oh, well, I do have this sort of dream vision of having a little cabin in the woods somewhere where I can go for a complete nature immersion.
And further into the ground.
Whenever I feel the need. Not to like be there all the time, but a retreat from my retreat. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just keep moving further and further into the
You're going to be like Grandmother Willow in Pocahontas. Do you remember her?
Yeah, something like that.
You're going to become a tree.
Maybe so.
And I'll come to you for advice.
Okay.
Anyways.
I kind of like that.
Okay, so that's it for the audience questions for now. Well, that was like a conglomeration of...
Yeah, we kind of merged some of them.
Yeah, but thank you so much. That really helped us out. We did think of another question that wasn't exactly sent in to us, but we're kind of thinking that some people might be wondering what slow living has to do with good dirt. So, I don't know, Mom, do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, I do. Okay. It's a good question, and I actually have a couple of answers for it. Number one is quite literally that the things we've been doing over the last several decades to speed life up, that is in fast fashion, fast food, our items of convenience, the products that we use to spend less time making them or whatever. These things have actually been damaging to the soil. And for instance, in fast fashion, of course, they grow the plants, the cotton, using terrible chemicals. They poison the water that goes back into the rain and is bad on the soil. And the dyes that are used go into the rivers that wash the land and ruin the soil. So there's so many examples of how our fast-paced living, our need to do things quicker and more conveniently are actually damaging to the soil. And I guess the second part of that would be that the good dirt has more to do with the metaphor of slow living. Getting back to a lifestyle that is literally like more grounding, gets us back in touch with the source of every need we have every single day, every need we have as human beings on the planet. And as we said earlier, the soil is fundamental to all of life on the planet. And if we're not taking care of that, then there's trouble, which is what we're now seeing, which is a lot of the reason why we're here.
To really kind of dig in to the things that we are talking about and thinking about and reminding ourselves to think about and talk about and why we're all here, you just have to slow down. Like, if you're concerned about how fast something's going to take or what the next thing is, then there's like not room in your brain to also think about this stuff. And yeah, I guess that's what I would say.
So how do you bring that back around to dirt, Emma? The slowing down to dirt.
Well, it's kind of like what I just said. Like, you wouldn't think about dirt if you were moving really fast, and like it's kind of like stop and smell the roses. Like, yeah, like look down for a minute and look at your feet and look at how you're connected to the earth. And if you're just staring straight ahead and running straight ahead, you're like disconnected from that.
Yes, and we're here to tell everybody how important it is to look at and consider that dirt.
Yeah. So we actually should probably wrap this up. But we really can't wait for you to get to the awesome interviews that are waiting for you in your podcast feed. Our first episode we have is with Amy Dufault. As we mentioned, Amy's going to talk all about her work with Fibershed and the Southeastern New England affiliate. She is a good old lady farmer friend. She's not old. She's an old friend.
She's been a friend for a while.
Yes. She's awesome. We love her. Actually, we love all these people. And the second episode, Mom,
is Rachel Armistead. She is a lady farmer who runs Sweet Farm.
It's really delicious sauerkraut if you're local. And she just like drops some knowledge about some ferments and sauerkraut and food and the food industry. And she's just such a great speaker. We really love talking to her. And then the third episode we have is with Joy Hoffman. She actually has been a really important player in my life. I was an apprentice for her the year before we started Lady Farmer, and I learned so much from her about art direction, starting an online business, all of these kinds of things that, at the time I didn't know it was leading to Lady Farmer, but it totally was. And she's an amazing interior designer, event designer. She just she knows all about spaces and how humans relate to our built environments. So that's an awesome episode. And yeah, so much more than that coming down the pike too. Make sure you're subscribed to The Good Dirt so you automatically get those updates, whether that's on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. We're on Stitcher, we're on iHeartRadio, and several others. Just, look at our website. And if you are so inclined, please do leave a review, because that really helps other people find us and helps other people decide to press that play button. So we hope you're enjoying it, and we hope that you feel inclined to leave a review.
And if you're not already, make sure you join in the conversation on Facebook and Instagram. Or you can always reach us directly at thegooddirtpodcast@gmail.com. So,
thank you so much for tuning in, you guys. We're really excited to have you here, and we can't wait to serve you up some more good dirt.
Yeah.